friends. Welcome back to Death Before Booze, a true crime paranormal podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Sam.
And since we don't have anything for housekeeping, we're going to jump right in. Jen, what is this week's topic?
This week's topic is revolting. And we talked about this last week, but you and I had different takes on this.
We interpreted revolting very differently. And I'm kind of glad that we've changed the formatting so I go second now because people are going to need a palate cleanser after yours.
Yeah, no, when Sam put, when we talked about revolting, I was like, oh, like gross. So that's your warning.
Yeah.
Get out while you can. Or at least fast forward to Sam.
Okay, no, don't leave. We need the full download. At least fast forward to mine.
Just fast forward to Sam if you don't want to. So there's your, I didn't go into too many like gruesome details, but this is a gruesome case.
It's not.
Especially if you know.
I don't like it.
It's not great. So we're starting off in Guangzhou, China, which is about 25 to 28 miles away from Hong Kong. So we are abroad in Asia today.
Do they use miles in Asia, or do they use those kilometers?
I think everybody but us uses kilometers.
That's what it is, a kilometer, yeah.
I think everybody but us uses it, but... So, according to the University of Hong Kong Center for Criminology, Hong Kong has one of the lowest homicide rates in the world, with just 1.23 murders per 100,000 people.
Okay.
So, there you go. And for context, New York's murder rate is nearly 15 times higher.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
It's amazing I've been to New York that many times, shot off my mouth, and still survived.
Yeah. Well, hey,
Yay.
Good for everybody. So we were going to be talking about Fan Man Yi. She was born in 1976. Again, if I'm pronouncing any of these things wrong, I apologize. I'm going to try my best. But I didn't take Mandarin. I didn't take...
What? You don't know Mandarin?
I didn't take any type of thing. No, although I do want to learn a different language on Babbel. I want to kind of try that at some point, but I don't know. I haven't done that yet.
Babbel, please sponsor us.
Yeah, I was just going to say, please sponsor us so I can do this. So she was born in 1976. She was abandoned by her family. So she was sent to an all-girls orphanage in Ma Tai Wei. Again, I am sorry. Apparently for this orphanage, 15 is the oldest you can stay. So when she turned 15, she had to leave.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I feel like, again, I know that ours is 18, and that's still not.
No.
I feel like they're still not ready, but 15's a lot. So of course, when you're down on your luck, you really have nothing. She became addicted to drugs. She was homeless, and she was forced into street prostitution. So at 21, she started working as a dancer in a nightclub.
Okay.
So things were kind of, she was on the mend. But by 1997, she would go back to working at a brothel and continue sex work. It was called Romance Villa in Shamshu Po. Again, we talk about this all the time. Like, sex work, if it's your thing, it's your thing. And that's totally fine.
Sex work is real work.
Exactly. It just felt like she had no choices. And it did pay really well. So that's kind of why she kept finding herself back.
Get it, girl.
Yeah.
Make that bang.
Exactly. So in 1996, she married one of her clients who also just so happened to be a drug addict. And depending on the source, either 1998 or 1997, she gave birth to her son.
Aww.
So her husband was abusive, and many people in their apartment complex reported hearing loud noises all hours of the night and the child screaming and crying.
No, I don't like that.
So this was a huge issue. So this was the time that Fawn decided, I gotta pull it together. So she left her husband.
Good.
Great. She started working as a hostess at a nightclub, which is called the Empress Karaoke Club.
Okay.
She quit drugs and also prostitution.
Perfect.
However, she did struggle financially because of this, because she went into a hostess gig as opposed to what she was used to. It did kind of put strain on her family, but so she did struggle to support herself and her son. So then she met Chan Man Lak, who is a 34-year-old pimp and drug dealer, who also so happened to be part of the Wo Shing Wo triad.
Okay.
Because, just go with the triads here.
You need a good triad. It's been a while since we had a good triad here.
I mean,
come on. It's been 90 episodes, almost 100 episodes, and we haven't had a triad yet.
We haven't. This is our first mention of the triads.
Oh my god.
Probably won't be the last one. It probably won't be the last.
It will not be the last.
So unfortunately, Chan had previous convictions for drug trafficking in 1991. He also so happened to be a former client of Fan's when she worked at the brothel.
Oh.
So she stayed in touch with him. And it seemed great because he offered her a chance to make a lot of money by becoming one of his regular girls. So he became her pimp.
Awesome.
And of course, this really just brought her back to drugs and lady of the nighting,
Aww.
But now she has a boss, so this guy's in charge. And of course, he's part of the triad, so it's a little risque. Yeah. So she continued to hang out with him and his crew. And the more of this, she got used to kind of seeing how there's tons of money. They're spending all of it. Everything's kind of going crazy. And she's like, I like being a part of this because I'm making money, but at the same time, it's a really risque business. Just know who you go into business with. So
fair. That is fair.
I am not a part of the triad, so you do not have to worry about that.
Are you sure? I feel like triad is like, Fight Club. You don't actually talk about it. And
you don't talk about it. Yeah. See, that's the thing.
But not only that, somebody being like, I'm not part of a triad, seems like the perfect cover-up for being part of a triad.
Yeah, I can hear that. I hear that.
That's like that meme where it says only cops say the actual name of Gatorade flavors instead of just calling it by the color. Oh my god, you've never seen this meme? There's a meme that's
I've never seen that.
If you're a cop or in law enforcement, you call Gatorade, the actual name.
The orange and not
No. You call it like the actual name. Like, so it would be like Orange Crush or whatever it's called. Or like Blue Mountain Mist or whatever it is. Instead of like, blue. I want the blue Gatorade. I want the white Gatorade. One. And then it's like, well, what happens when there are the two blues? How do you differentiate? Obviously, the dark blue is named this and the light blue is named this. So he's like, thanks, cop. It's light blue and dark blue, dumbass.
I mean, that's fair. That's how I differentiate them. I'm like, I like the dark blue. I don't like the light blue.
Yep.
So, I don't know the names of it.
And we're not cops.
I wonder why they need to, I wonder why they need to know that. Huh.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I wonder why.
But I mean, we just proved it, so it's okay.
Yeah. So in 1999, one night out of desperation on a drug binge, Fan stole Chan's wallet.
Ooh, not good.
Yeah, which contained roughly, depending on the source, either $500 or $4,000. It's a really big difference.
That's a big jump, yeah.
But yes, but there are some sources that'll say it was $500, so it was like okay, but then others say $4,000. I don't know if they just kind of like.
Is it like $500 ours and $4,000 whatever their currency is? Okay, no.
No, it's transfer. It's.
I don't know what
converted.
the conversion rate is to begin with. So.
Well, when he found out, we know that this isn't going to be good. He had his men go after her. So not only did they ask her to bring the money back, but then he asked for $10,000 interest because she stole.
Ooh.
So now she was forced to give him her earnings from her sex work in order to pay off the debt. She eventually did pay back the original amount, but needed to pay back the rest, obviously, because you just tacked on a $10,000 interest rate. And she kept saying, no problem, whatever, this is how it's going to go. However, Chan was not too thrilled with this, needless to say. He felt he needed to make an example of her. And boy, howdy, he did. So, March 17th, 1999, Fan was kidnapped by Chan's two henchmen, Ling Wai Lun, who was 21 years old, and Lung Shin Chow, who was 26.
Okay.
Chan also had a 14-year-old girl known as Ah Fong, because they didn't want her name to be mentioned. She said she was his girlfriend. However, it seemed as though she was a victim of grooming. Because, again, Chan is in his 30s and she's 14.
Yeah.
So that's gross on all levels. But on top of this, it seems very... So she happened to be in the gist as well. Like, she was there.
Yeah.
They took her to an apartment that Chan had rented. So the building, really, there was nobody really there. So it's an abandoned type of building, or it's a really rundown, not abandoned yet. It was really rundown apartment. So nobody really went there. So he snagged an apartment. And the plan was Chan intended to keep Fawn imprisoned and pimp her out to other men until her debt was paid off. Still not okay.
I don't like that at all.
But then he said, this isn't enough, so we're going to up the stakes a little bit. So as the days went on, Fawn was raped and tortured by 3 men, all 3 of them. Although, on occasion, the young girl would also take part in the torture. This is really tough because I know that she's instructed by Chan to do these things. So, but at the same time, people are still speculating like, well, she was there, she was involved. And it's like,
yeah, but if she's watching these men do this to this other woman and they're like, okay, now you need to do something. Like, is she
You're not going to say no.
Is she afraid that if I don't do what they say, they're going to do this to me too?
Exactly.
Like, it's not right what's happening in any way, shape, or form, but like, you can't put it on. I feel like at the same time, you can't put it on her that way. Like, she's...
Agreed.
Yeah, especially being 14.
Yeah, and it just kind of seems... I get it. I read a lot of the different articles, and some of them were like, well, you know, she went to the cops after, and like, we'll get there, but people were still like, she should have gotten some kind of thing, and she partook in this, and it's like, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's not right. But she's 14. She's in this world of this crime family that she's in, and like she's being told this is what you have to do.
Yeah. And
maybe she's not, but like if she doesn't do, you know,
yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's a tough one.
That one is hard. That one's really hard.
So some sources say again she was beaten with metal bars. Sometimes she was strung up and used as a punching bag.
Oh my God.
And at one occasion, she was kicked in the head around 50 times. So poor Fawn was, like, having a time.
How did she survive that?
Well, yeah. They rubbed spices into her wounds, which seems like a really big thing people do, which is, like, I never thought to do that.
I hate it.
Because why?
I hate it.
Her feet and legs were burned with candle wax and hot plastic so she couldn't walk.
Oh, my God.
So as if she wasn't going, they were like, don't leave. Like, now you really can't leave.
Now you can't leave. Now you're stuck here.
Exactly. So they really kind of found whatever they could in the apartment as creative ways of torturing her.
Oh my God.
There's more information, but I didn't want to go into any more physical detail on these things because it was just revolting. It was just too much. It is the name of the episode.
Way to throw that in there.
So they would tie her up with electrical wires and hang her on the wall. So not like from her neck, but like from like it's just like.
No.
What?
No.
I don't even know how people come up with these.
No.
And I know you're not going to like this one, but on one occasion he also said she had to eat his, his poop.
No, I hate it. I hate him. I hate everything. I can't. Why would you say that? Why would you make somebody do that? Why would you say that? I don't like it at all. Oh no. Oh no. Jen, no.
It's not. It's not. So, and I didn't go into all the detail either. That's just like the surface, and that's
the surface. No,
yeah, don't.
I don't like it.
If you're if you really want to know, you can absolutely go into these things. But I
don't like.
It's not good.
I don't like.
It's not good. I did the research so you guys wouldn't have to. So there it is. Just
I hate everything about it. Everything.
The entire time, she was also forced to say that she enjoyed her treatment, and if she refused, they subjected her to harsher treatment.
What's worse than eating shit? Nothing.
I know.
Nothing.
Blech.
My God, that's
now,
some human centipede shit right there.
It is, and it's disgusting, and it's like, why? You're already doing all of these horrible things to her. Do you really have to add that? Like, why? Why? There's no... At this point, they're not even like it's. I don't even think it was about the money at this point. I think it was just like the three of them just enjoyed this torture because
I hate people. How are people so terrible? I hate people.
So it's important, like I said, to note some sources say Fong, the 14-year-old, said she happily contributed, even laughing. But some sources, not all of them, confirmed this. So. Like we said, it's a very tough call because we don't know what she was subjected to. We know what Fawn's subjected to. And as a 14-year-old girl, being kind of like forced to do whatever with this 30-something-year-old guy, I don't think she's seeing all aspects in a,
healthy way. No, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
No.
So now between April 14th and 15th, after enduring a month of this abuse just straight, Fawn just succumbed to her injuries and just died. Which, I feel like that's the best way out of this situation because after a while you're just like, I can't.
Unfortunately.
So, it's unclear whether she died while they were out or if she died overnight. Either way, the group discovered her dead, and they apparently couldn't agree what to do with her. So, they went down to the arcade, they played some video games for a couple hours.
As you do.
I mean, as you do. The next day, they were like, okay, I think I know what we're going to do. Dismemberment is huge, and that's like their thing. So they were like, let's dismember her and boil her remains, which took 10 hours of time.
No.
The gross thing is they cooked their own food on the same burner. Like, why would you do that? You don't put fish and cookies in the oven at the same time. You certainly don't fucking shit where you eat. Like, not for anything.
Shit where you bad. No. You might crystal.
So after they dismembered her, boiled her, whatever, they were like, you know what do we do with her skull? So they put it inside of a Hello Kitty mermaid toy.
Oh my God. Was it the 14-year-old
apartment? I don't know, because this particular apartment that he had gone into had a lot of Hello Kitty memorabilia. Like there was like cups and like wall stuff, like posters all around, which is weird.
Oh my God.
So they found this stuffed animal and they were like, okay, cool. So they discarded the rest of the body. Meanwhile, they left her head in the apartment. Like,
what is wrong with them?
So the only things that remained of Fawn was her skull, one tooth, and some internal organs, which I don't know why they didn't just, like, what are we doing here? So a couple weeks go by, and it's May, when Ah Fong, who is the 14-year-old, she decided, I gotta tell the police. So she went to the police department and she said, I'm being haunted by the ghost of a woman who was tied up by electrical wires and she was tortured. And she described this whole scene to the police as a horror movie. And originally the police were like, a ghost? Like, honey, I don't know what you think we can do about this, but like, I don't know what's going on here. So,
was there really a ghost, or was she like trying to pitch it that way so she would be further away from it, so she wouldn't get in trouble?
I feel like whenever she slept, like when she went to sleep, she was kind of like, this was constantly in her head and how she watched this unfold. And it was just kind of, to her, was like, she felt like Fawn was haunting her, like in her thoughts and everything. So she went to them saying she's being haunted by a woman, and they're like, okay. And she's like, well, the woman that I'm being haunted by is this woman who I helped kill. And they're like, okay. So let's go check it out.
Oh, you murdered her? Cool.
Cool.
Where's that? Yeah, where's the body? Got it.
So she took them to the apartment, and that's where they found, again, Hello Kitty memorabilia all over the place. They were like, this is fucking weird. And then they found the doll, and when they opened it, it was clear that she was not just, I have a ghost.
Was it just their skull, or was there like still stuff?
It was just her skull. Because they boiled it, so it was like everything got off.
God, I hate everything. You know?
It's disgusting.
I hate everything.
They were able to collect whatever evidence they could, including the organs and whatever the hell was all over the place. Unfortunately, her body was so badly destroyed that the cause of death could not be determined, which pick a torture device, because
poor.
Now, at the time of the arrest, okay, Chan was with his wife and newborn baby in their apartment.
How many apartments does he have? Whose apartment were they in?
They were in one of those, like, it wasn't really in a good area.
But whose apartment was it?
He bought it, so it was his.
Did the wife know? Does the wife know what he does? Does the wife know he's a triad?
Honestly, I didn't find any of that, but I assume she knows he's a triad. Because if you marry a guy like that and, like, money's coming in and you're like, what do you do for a living? Like, I assume after a while she'd pick it up. Like, she'd be like, oh.
Got it. Okay.
So, May 28th, they raided the apartment, but they didn't find any evidence at his apartment. Once the trial was in the local papers and in the media, Lang Wan Lun fled. So one of his other guys fled, but they caught him in February 2000, so a year later, basically.
What about the other 20-something?
They did find him. Okay. So everybody got caught. Once they got everybody, it's October 2000 when the trial starts.
Okay.
The 14-year-old enfant testified against the men in exchange for protection and immunity, which, like I said, is a contentious thing for some people. She testified to the torture she had witnessed and how the men beat her body again once she was dead. She said they beat her for when they were bored. They beat her for laughs. She was broken and playing with her wasn't so much fun after that, but we carried on anyway. So just...
I hate everything. Everything is dust.
The men claimed they didn't intend for her to die. They just wanted to rough her up a little bit.
A little bit for 30 days? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm. A whole month. And then Chen and Loin Sen Chow, so not the one who fled, denied killing her. But they didn't deny the fact that they dismembered her body. Which is weird. But I didn't. I didn't kill her.
What if they didn't, and the other dude did, and because they are his underlings, they took care of the body? I've seen Sopranos.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I
I mean, I think
They
they're
were
all
like-
guilty of sin, so it doesn't matter. I'm just saying. Drop my crystal.
They tried to argue she died of a drug overdose, and because she was just giving herself drugs at that time.
Lies.
Which again,
Lies.
her body was so destroyed that it's not like
There's no way to know.
You know, there's evidence to know. So December, the men were convicted of manslaughter and unlawful imprisonment because the remains were not sufficient enough to show whether she was murdered or she died of an overdose.
Okay.
However,
What about, like, improper disposal of a body? Or, like, fucking with a dead body? Or, like...
you know, I don't know if they do, like, they do. I mean,
humans.
obviously. I wish that was a charge, because that would be freaking ridiculous.
I have a couple people I have on the list.
Everybody
They should just be charged with being a horrible human.
Horrible human, and that's, yeah. However, the judge did sentence them to life with the possibility of parole after 20 years.
No.
It's hard because I know our jurisdiction.
Wait.
But
so they're, like, potentially out right now?
we're going to get to the appeals and stuff.
Sorry.
It's okay. The judge said to them, "Never in Hong Kong in recent years has a court heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness. The public is entitled to protection from people against you."
Yeah.
Hong Kong does not have the death penalty. But had this case been taken in the mainland, it could have been a different story, because Japan has, and China, they have the death penalty. And theirs works a lot different than ours, in the sense where it's like our people could be on death row for years. They don't know when their death date is. They're literally walk in and be like, "Okay, let's go. Today's your day." So, unfortunately, it's not in the mainland. It's in Hong Kong, and they don't have the death penalty. So, psychiatrist reports, of course, the three of them, they were all remorseless. They didn't seem to give a shit. They were kind of like, what? Like, does she matter anyway? Type of thing. And it's like, okay.
Dick.
So, Chan appealed but lost in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Len Shen Cho reduced his sentence on an appeal and was released in 2014 after only serving 18 years.
Don't like that.
But in 2022, he found himself in jail once again for sexually assaulting a 10-year-old for 12 months. Let's leave the bad people in jail, please.
Stop letting them out. They're not good
don't
people.
let them out. No, it's not okay. So, the aftermath of the whole incident, which is now known as, if you look at Hong Kong crime, like the Hello Kitty murders are like, this is the top, because this is the worst fucking thing.
I mean, yeah, it is pretty bad. It's right up there with Anthill Kids.
Yeah.
This one's
I kind of... Fan's young son eventually enrolled in University of Singapore, but doesn't really have any memories of his mother, which is so awful.
That is sad.
She was, like, they did find her necklace that she always wore, so they did give that to him once they were able to give the evidence back. Her skull was returned 4 years after the trial to her parents to be cremated, so they could have a proper burial. The apartment complex where all this whole thing happened was demolished in 2012 and has since been rebuilt into a hotel in 2016. And the place where the murder took place is ironically a restaurant now. So I bet if you looked it up, you could probably find this building and be like, yeah, there's lots of ghosties going on in there.
Haunted.
So
Definitely
that's
haunted.
something.
Definitely haunted.
I heard a lot, like I looked up a couple of YouTube channels who did cases of this, and this really like was not a, like I'm like smiling because I'm like, this is fucked up and like tactless, but there were a lot of movies made about this case, and they named them Human Pork Chop.
Wait, is that the translation?
Yeah.
Okay, so it could be something.
It's in Asian, but like it is, but it comes out to human pork chop.
Okay, ew.
And there's a secret in my soup, which
Did they eat her?
no, they just boiled and then got rid of her. But I don't know. Whoever made these films, I get the Asian culture.
Poop. Oh, that poor thing. Oh.
I can't, like, I understand Asian culture is different than ours, and sometimes, like, they'll do things that are different than American culture. But, like, human pork chop, like, is this...
She just needed loin pork for that matter.
I mean,
come on.
And an episode of Bones did an episode based on this case. So I don't know which one it is, but every year on her birthday, in the center of the city, people gather to remember Fawn with a candlelight vigil, which I think is so wonderful. Nice. That despite her having such a horrible, horrible existence, she still, so
is remembered.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't watch human pork chop. I don't think it deserves.
I don't think any of them should be watched, especially if there's anything to do with excrement.
Yeah.
Why? Leave your poop in the fucking toilet, people. I can't. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. If you're into, like, shit play or whatever, it's fine. Go for it. But it's not for me. And it really skeeves me. Like, I'm really gagging. It skeeves me. Oh, we're bad. Okay. So I will get it together, Sam. You're a professional podcaster. Okay. I took Revolting in a very different direction, in which I'm covering a building that was prominent during the Revolutionary War in America.
Oh. There's two kinds of people in this world.
Yeah, and they come together, have a podcast, and just fuck with each other, apparently.
I thought you meant, like, gross Revolting, because I was like, oh, all right, that's...
I knew this was coming out around the 4th of July, our country's birthday, and thought, ooh, we're revolting against the British people and the British rule, and let's do Revolting.
We need to be more clear.
We really do need to start, like, putting little notes next to what our topics are and why we chose them. So,
all right.
This is a bit of whiplash. I'm going to open my monster now. And we're going to start. Okay. I am covering the famous Morris Jumel Mansion located in New York City.
Oh.
You're doing great, Jen.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
You are doing so great. Okay. So
I just misunderstood the assignment such a different way that I'm like...
But technically, you didn't misunderstand the assignment. This was very much up for interpretation when we don't discuss them prior.
That is fair.
There's fair. Nothing
this is
wrong
our,
with
this
what
is
you...
Really, guys, this is our fault because this is not your fault. This is not your fault.
It's
and
not
why you
your
had to sit
fault.
Through.
Nobody's.
It's our fault because we didn't talk about what Revolting might have.
I mean, yeah, I wrote it down, and in my brain, I went, this makes so much sense. And then I saw Jen's thing on the list and was like, ooh, we took this in two very different directions, and I can't even be like, girl, fix it, because she followed directions. Like, this is very much like the legal system in America, where everything is up for interpretation.
Yes. That's a really good connection. I like that.
Happy late 4th of July, people. Okay, so
yep.
the Morris Jumel Mansion in New York City. So It began as a summer home for the British Colonel Roger Morris and his American wife, Mary Phillips. Why did I have such a problem with that word? So the mansion at the time was not a mansion, but we're going to call it the mansion, was called Mount Morris, and it was built on 135 acres stretching from the Harlem River to the Hudson River, and it was a working farm. So it had fruit trees, cattle, lots of crops, all that good stuff. The Morris family had to leave when, the biggest revolt in America happened, the Revolutionary War of 1776. During the Revolutionary War, I have it in bold, so I was like, this is my connection. So during the war, George Washington and his troops occupied, and it became the Army's headquarters from September 14th to October 21st of 1776. And it was great because from the upstairs windows, you could see the battlefield and where the British and the American revolutionaries were fighting. And George Washington had a bird's eye view, and he could then call out what he was going to do next and this, that, and the other thing. So until the British forces pushed out the Americans, this is where they hung out. So after the war, the Morris family, being loyalists, left America to live in England. Bye, Felicia. Get the fuck out. So the mansion was confiscated by the state of New York and was sold to cover war debts. Then it was sold to the Earl family, who turned it into a hotel and tavern for a hot second. And this is actually where George Washington, after he became president, he had a very symbolic dinner there because, it used to be his headquarters. So he brought everybody back, his cabinets, Hamilton, Jefferson, Madison probably showed up. They had a whole big shindig with everybody's wives on July 10th, 1790. And then a couple weeks later, the tavern closed and the mansion was abandoned again until Mount Morris was bought in 1810 by a wealthy French merchant, Stephen Jumel, with his wife, Eliza. Now, here's the tea. Okay? So, Stephen Jumel met Eliza at a theater when Stephen had already been married. So he's there with his wife. Mm-hmm. He sees Eliza. They lock eyes from across the room, and they have this, totally Hallmark love affair, and ba. And so instead of being like, bitch, I'm married, back the fuck up, Eliza became his mistress. I can't say cool because I don't really love it. But you know what? It's not my life. It's not my choices. Everybody needs to do what they need to do. If she's happy, he's happy.
If she was okay with it.
I mean, I'm sure his wife wasn't happy about it.
Wife's not happy, but...
But it got to a point where... So Eliza grew up super poor. Hold on. Eliza grew up super poor. Her mother was a servant whose big side hustle was sex work just to keep them afloat. And sex work is real work. We've already talked about that today. Yeah. And Eliza was convinced that she was somehow the illegitimate daughter of George Washington. So she deserved a better life than what she was living. Delusions of grandeur, this one. So...
Oh, yeah.
When Eliza found out Stephen was not only hot, but was rich, she tricked him and said, I'm totally dying from this fake fatal illness, and you need to rescue me. So Stephen divorces his first wife, or does whatever to get rid of her. They get married, and the rumors start flying.
Well, yeah.
So Stephen and Eliza spent very little time together. They did everything they could to not be together because he realized this bitch lied to me. And she's like, well, now I'm your wife. You can't really get rid of me.
Well, he did with his first wife.
You're correct. But he didn't with her. So he went off.
That's dumb. Stupid.
He went back to France and hung out there as much as possible.
And left her the house.
Left her the house. Left her his kind of sort of failing businesses. He went back to France. So he's like, what the fuck do I care about what's going on in America? So she took those over. And then she also started her own little ventures. And she really, made something of herself. And she became one of the most wealthiest women in New York City. Okay. So Stephen ended up dying in 1832. And he died in New York. It was one of his very few trips back. But there are some theories as to his death. And when I say theories, I mean, I don't think anybody actually knows what started the process, but there are definitely concerns about what finished him off. So the first thing is he died of pneumonia, which can kind of track into the next two. The second is he was injured in a severe carriage accident. And then C is Stephen fell off a hay cart onto a pitchfork.
I mean, that one's the most, like, I want that one to be it.
Well,
but
for either of the last two options, obviously if you had gotten an infection, you could then develop pneumonia and die.
Yes.
But there were talks behind closed doors that Eliza maybe sort of was trying to play nursemaid and might have taken off his bandages.
Yeah.
And didn't resecure them properly, or did something to help him get that infection, or just didn't put his bandages back on at all and was like, oops, I didn't know he needed a bandage, and he just bled to death.
I'm not a nurse.
I don't know. I was just trying to be helpful, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean...
Either way, 14 months later, Eliza's remarried. To none other than the controversial ex-vice president, Aaron Burr.
Oh, wow. She really... Okay.
Right. So now you sit there, you hear Aaron Burr, the ex-VP, and you're like, bitch, he must have money. She's just going up in the world, right? And there was a lot of speculation that maybe the two were even having an affair. And that's why she, removed the Stevens bandages and shit. Turns out Aaron Burr was on his last fucking dime and married her to get her money to pay off his debts. So the second this bitch found out, she's like, oh, hell fucking no. Get out of my house. You know, you ain't irreplaceable. Get your shit, get in your carriage, and get the fuck off my property. So, here's the kicker. She files for divorce, and who is her attorney?
No.
None other than the son of the man that Aaron Burr killed. Alexander Hamilton Jr. handled her estate in the divorce proceedings. Boom, bitch, drop the mic. I mean, that is some poetic justice if ever I heard it. And this is the shit that just gets me so torqued up. I mean, the tea is dripping here, okay?
That's a lot of like, everything comes full circle.
Absolutely savage.
Awesome.
It's amazing. Now, he didn't want to get divorced. I think he actually, like, although he was like, ooh, money, 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 he, like, really had a thing for Eliza. He's like, I don't hate you.
She's a bad bitch. She makes her own decisions. She has her own businesses. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, why not? Well, unfortunately, after this divorce, Burr died shortly after. I think it was in, like...
were his bandages misdone?
No, they were already divorced. He moved out. He was penniless. It was like in 1836 he died. It was 2 years later from when she first filed.
I don't feel bad for him. Sorry.
I have very little pity for Alexander Burr.
Not after what you...
No. Bye. No. 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 So Eliza passed away in 1865, leaving most of her estate to the local church and other charities, which pissed off all of her relatives because they were like, no. She was obviously not of sound mind when she created this very plausible will. We need her money. So they spent 2 decades fighting over her will. When they finally succeeded, the family sold the land and the mansion to a syndicate of land developers. The mansion stood empty for years until it was turned into a museum. The Morris Jumel Mansion in New York is a New York City landmark since 1967 and an interior landmark since 1975. It has most of the original furniture of the former owners, and that could be a trigger object for former residents. And that is my segue into let's chat about the ghosties.
That is fair.
So, this kind of plays into why the family was like, I think, old Auntie Eliza's losing it. Because she would tell people there are specters in my house, saying she saw and heard things that she just couldn't explain. And obviously most thought she's advanced age. She might be losing her mind a little bit. But it turns out she might have been telling the truth. So we'll start with the regular rundown. There are temperature fluctuations, disembodied footsteps, disembodied voices, including speaking, crying, and yelling. Knocking on walls, weird static electricity, doors opening and closing by themselves, lights turning on and off. Furniture tends to move around of its own accord. I don't like that. Sounds occurring after hours, feelings of being watched or followed, and visitors being touched or pushed during tours.
I don't like during tours people get pushed. That's not okay.
No, and that's during the day and the paranormal tours, because they have both. Okay, so visitors have claimed to have witnessed George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Alexander Hamilton all walking the halls. People have reported seeing Washington looking out the windows, seemingly, or they're assuming he's kind of like looking off where the battlefield was and like planning their next counter move or seeing how things are playing out. There are rumors that there's a Hessian soldier who died on the stairs of the mansion from slipping and stabbing himself in the stomach with his own bayonet.
Good job. I feel like this would be something we would do.
Oh, definitely.
Like, oh, whoops. And then
Dead.
just fall down.
Oh, ow, died. I'm dead.
Oh, dead. Oh, she did it to herself.
Oh, damn. People say that they've seen the soldier's boots coming down the stairs and stumble. Sometimes there's an audible scream of pain or a thud as though someone has just fallen down the stairs. Also, the ghost of an American soldier scared 2 school teachers on separate occasions. So 2 separate teachers at 2 separate times. Ooh, that was bad. By walking out of a painting in broad daylight. One of the teachers fainted. Like KO, done,
Ooh.
Out, down for the count.
Now this was during like a tour.
During a tour,
like
yeah,
a
like a school tour, mm-hmm. like a class field trip.
Did anybody else see it other than the teacher that fainted? Were the kids just like, holy shit?
Oh, hold on, hold that. Pause. So there's another story on the property that there was a maid caught having an affair with one of the Morris families. Now, this is the original family. And the shame of being caught caused her to jump out of an upper window, committing suicide. Or completing suicide. I apologize. Completing suicide. She is now seen crying on the 3rd floor where her room would have been. She's also seen moving through the house, continuing her chores. And all I have to say is, bitch, I am not working as a ghost. Fuck that. Absolutely not. When I'm dead and I'm a ghost, I'm literally going to be the one chasing you up the stairs when you go to bed at night just to fuck with you. Like, that's my job.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, I don't want to work. My big job is going to be fucking with people. That's what I want to do with my afterlife. Thank you.
I agree. That's fair. Also, a man's not worth that. Don't jump out the window because I know that you're ashamed, but just
yeah, no, you're fine.
Just move somewhere else. No one will know. It's fine.
I mean, yeah, it's the 1700s. It's not like you have a credit report.
Exactly. It's not like anyone's going to know your name.
You could literally go to Massachusetts and say, my name is Nadine. Bye.
Yeah, and no one would know the difference.
Go to Georgia. No one would care. Weather's probably nicer in Georgia in the 1700s.
That's fair.
I know, yeah. Okay, the kitchen is a known hot spot, and the kitchen was actually in the basement. Like, I guess it's cooler in the basement when you have, like, basement kitchens. So, this is where most of the slaves would have been kept and would have worked. Also, servants at any given time, or servers when it was a tavern and hotel. So, this place, there are flourishes of activity, including sounds of pots and pans being used, cabinets opening and closing, as well as seeing cabinets opening and closing, murmurs and speaking, women laughing, people walking, people talking. Then there is the ghost of Stephen Jumel. So it's said that he haunts the room that he passed away in. People have heard moaning in agony.
That's him.
Yeah, that's definitely him. Yeah. Then Aaron Burr has been seen moving through the mansion, and it's said that, he never really wanted to divorce Eliza, who was seen to be his meal ticket. So people see him walking from room to room, and they think that he's still looking for her.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of sad, but at the same time...
Men ain't shit.
Yeah.
This isn't actually a ghost, I don't think, but... So people have reported this strange experience, and there's this regular-looking clock in the dining room, and the face of it is a moon decoration. And the clock...
I've seen those types.
The clock is known to be a bit of a flirt, because whenever a handsome man walks through the dining room, it's said that the moon will wink at them.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, but hosts of the mansion tell visiting men that if it doesn't wink at you, don't worry, because she's not always flirty.
Oh, so it's not
They're trying to make the men feel better.
So it's like...
So you could be an ugly piece of shit, but it's not you. She's just not feeling flirty. She's on the rag. She doesn't really want to do that. That's all it is. It's her time.
She's on the rag.
Okay, and then finally, the woman we've all been waiting for, Eliza Jumel. She's been seen in a white gown wandering the property and crying. But these days, she's known to yell at passers-by, including school children, and has been seen wandering the home in a purple dress, tapping on walls and windows, trying to get your attention. So, like, from the outside, you might hear a tapping on the window and look, and there's an old woman in a purple dress, and then you look back and she's gone again. Like, that type of shit. On tours, guests have seen a figure run up the stairs, only to reveal there's nobody upstairs. And then... in the 70s, there was a group of school children waiting outside the property to go in for a tour. And out comes this elderly woman with red hair and a purple dress out onto the balcony and starts yelling at them to be quiet. Then she turns around and goes back outside. So the kids and the teacher are like, oh, why
the fuck are you?
Why would they have somebody in period clothing yelling at the children? That just seems weird. And as they're like, kind of like, what just happened? This woman, one of the actual museum workers, comes running up and apologizing profusely. Like, oh my God, there was an issue with the subway. I'm coming. Let me open the house. We'll start the tour immediately. I'm so sorry. So she goes inside. She gets everything on and goes, okay, come on in. And they're like, so where's the other woman who was here? And she's like, there's no other woman here. I'm the only person here. And they're like, no, the woman who yelled at us to be quiet. And she's like, guys, I'm the only one here. And they're like, okay, that's weird. So they commence the tour and they're going through whatever, and they get up to Eliza's room. And now the woman's, giving her tour, and she's talking about this, that, and the other thing, and she points them in the direction of a portrait of Eliza. And all the kids are like, that's the bitch who yelled at us! It's her! And she's like,
she's dead.
That's Eliza, and she's dead. And that is the story of the Morris Jumel Mansion in New York City that you can still go tour. They have daily tours as well as nightly paranormal tours a few times a week. And in case you wanted to, there is a Ghost Adventures episode about this. Our best friend Zach Bagel Bites has been here. It's season 9, episode 2 or 3, something like that. They don't really get much, but this is actually where I learned about this mansion to begin with, and that's why we're talking about it today. But yeah, so two very different interpretations of Revolting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I learned don't steal from a triad human who's going to murder you and put your head in a stuffed animal.
I learned men ain't shit.
Men ain't shit. You know what? That is the underlying thing of today. Men ain't shit.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Eliza was like,
on it.
Like, I'm keeping my money and I don't give a shit.
My money and I want it now. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. Well, let's see. If you love our stuff, make sure you're following us on social media. Like, review, follow, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube. Make sure that you rate us and review us on Apple and Spotify. That helps us out so much. Sharing our content on any social media helps us out a lot. If you want to see any pictures or any of our sources from today's episode, make sure you go to our website, deathbeforebooze.com. While you're there, if you're all caught up and you feel like you want some more craziness, feel free to join us on Patreon. Subscriptions start at $5 a month. You can purchase the whole year and get a discount, which is absolutely awesome, but we know times are tough. So if you cannot, totally understand. If you want to maybe buy some of our merch, click on our merch page. I think I covered everything. We love you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Love you guys. Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.